Alex's footsteps echoed on the pavement. The cool embrace of October air snatched at his face as he made his way to the Hades Corporation. The Hades Corporation was a substantial grey structure located on the outskirts of a bustling city, standing prominently above neighbouring buildings. His phone vibrated in his pocket as he stared up at the immense building, answering it absent-mindedly. "Hello?" The worried voice of his mother replied. "Alex, how are you feeling?" Alex rolled his eyes. This was the third time she'd called him today. "I'm fine, Mum. Honestly, you don't have to keep ringing me." "Well, I'm just checking in. A mother's always going to worry after all. But Lord knows, I'd wish you'd chosen a safe division." His mother's frantic voice bombarded down the line. Alex rolled his eyes uncontrollably. Her and his father worked in the investigation division, and although not completely without risk, it was considered a lot safer than the exploration division. "I'll be fine, Mum. I'm meeting with Stefan, and he's going to walk me through the day." "Don't worry." His mother's voice changed sharply as she snapped. "Don't you tell me not to worry. I'm always going to worry. I'm your mother after all." "Stop nagging him, Winifred," his dad shouted, taking his phone from her. "Al, let us know how you get on, and say hi to Stefan for us." "Good luck with your first day," his father called before hanging up the phone. Alex rolled his eyes again, and he'd been training his whole life for this. Yes, the nerves were eating him alive, but it would all be worth it in the end. As Alex neared the entrance, he observed a carved metallic sign stating the Hades Corporation, Exploration into the Future. Externally, the facility appeared to be a research institute. While scientific inquiry was the primary function, its scope extended further. The organization investigated paranormal phenomena, supporting supernatural entities such as vampires and werewolves, providing treatment for magical injuries, and undertook research related to any paranormal occurrence. The autumn leaves began to scatter around him as he waited for his mentor and friend Stefan. Stefan was always late. He was a few years older than him, with fire engine red hair, a freckled face, and pale grey eyes. They'd met when Alex was very young. Stefan had come to live with them before being admitted to the academy. Alex had never found out why, and had been friends ever since. Stefan had been a rising star at the academy and joined the Hades organization on a scholarship when he was around 17, and joined the exploration division when he was 20. All other applicants normally started between 19 and 23, depending on the division that they wanted to join. Alex himself hadn't joined till he was 23. Stefan had been the one to recommend him to the exploration division, knowing that this was something Alex had dreamt about ever since he'd started at the academy. Ever since he had heard stories of the demon realms, he'd wanted to explore them, as though he'd always been drawn towards them. As Alex was considering whether or not to ring Stefan, he came running towards him, his scarlet red hair wrapping excitedly round his face, clashing horribly with his long moss green jacket. "Hey, Alex," he waved, catching his breath, the occasional spark flying from his mouth. "Sorry I'm late. I had to pick up some files from the Eastwolf building," he added, gesturing at him with the papers under his arm. "No worries. What's the paperwork for?" Alex asked, in an attempt to distract himself. Nothing much," Stefan shrugged, as he wiped hair from his face. "Do you mind holding these for a second?" Stefan shoved paperwork over to Alex without waiting for an answer. Stefan cupped his hands together and breathed a small amount of blue flame into his enclosed palms before rubbing them together and warming himself up. "It's bloody freezing," he shivered, rubbing his hands together. "So are you ready for your initiation day?" Stefan laughed, while Alex gazed down at his feet. "Your mum's rang me twice already." "She's bloody mental," Alex muttered, clutching the papers closer to his chest. Stefan gripped his shoulder, reassuringly, and asked in a serious tone, "Are you okay? We can always postpone it if you want." "Yeah, I suppose." Alex clutched the papers closer to his chest. "Just nervous, that's all." "You'll be fine." I promise. Plus, your mum will kill me if anything happens to you. Mind you, I suppose your dad would as well. Have you had anything to eat yet? We still have time before your initiation, Stefan asked, taking back the papers and checking his watch. Alex shook his head. I woke up late and didn't have time to grab anything. Come on, then. Stefan wrapped his arm around Alex's neck. Let's go to the cafeteria. Breakfast is still on. I'm starving. Stefan tried to lead Alex through the large revolving door, but his feet wouldn't move. This wasn't the first time Alex had come to the Hades Corporation. Far from it. He'd come several times before with both his parents and Stefan. But this time was different. Anxiety crept through his stomach and up his throat. He felt as though he might be sick. Come on, Alex. It's freezing out here and I'm starving, Stefan reiterated. But Alex did not move. Hey, Stefan asked as he flicked Alex's forehead. Anyone in there? Ouch! Alex gripped his forehead. Stefan's voice sparked him out of his daze. I think you burnt me. Stefan examined Alex's forehead and laughed. Ah, you'll live. As he looped his arm around Alex's and pulled him forward. Come on, Stefan grabbed Alex's hand and they both stepped through the doors that would change his life forever. The door opened into a vast entryway. Its floor and walls clad in cool, polished white marble, which was so smooth it reflected the light from the high ceiling, resembling more of an old bank than what it truly was, dividing the outside world from the secrets held within the research center. Behind a row of small gates, clerks were perched at their neat stations, fingers tapping rhythmically on keyboards, their movements punctuated by the occasional rustle of documents and clipped voices. Stephen darted forward to one of the people and flashed them his badge with an over-exaggerated gesture. Exploration Division? The man behind the desk asked in a monotone voice. Clearly he had had enough for today. Yep, Stefan smiled broadly, putting on a performance for Alex. The man behind the desk rolled his eyes. And what about you, sir? He gestured a finger at Alex and raised an eyebrow. I'm here for my initiation day. With the Exploration Division, he replied nervously, pulling out his acceptance letter and sliding it through the little slot in the glass. All right, the man fiddled with one of the drawers, pulling out some paperwork and a small clip-on badge. Sign here, and here is your temporary work badge. You'll gain your official work badge after your first few weeks. Alex briefly read through the signed paperwork before pinning the badge to the front of his shirt and following Stefan through the gate. Winding corridors followed the gates, each leading to a different silver elevator, which glinted in the dull office lighting. Stefan's grin spread across his face as they stood in the elevator and pressed one of the buttons. Hold on tight, he excitedly whispered as the elevator unexpectedly rocked downwards, causing Alex's stomach to fly up into his mouth. The trip did nothing to settle his nerves. If anything, it made them much worse. He'd always hated the elevators here. They never knew which direction to go in. Up, down, left, right, left again. They were all in a world of their own. And they all had the personal goal of making people throw up. As suddenly as it had started, it stopped, and the doors opened with a loud ding. Come on, Alex. The cafeteria is this way. Stefan pulled Alex, who's currently holding his stomach, out of the elevator. The corridor offered a striking difference from the entranceway above. It buzzed with activity and bursted with colour. Illuminated by vivid blue flickering bulbs, it took him a few moments to adjust his eyes to the corridor's bright light. Photos and posters from different divisions of the organisation cluttered the walls, providing a disorganised feel to the area. Agents flooded either side of him, carrying paperwork, talking to each other, joking and laughing. One of the agents was carrying a newborn wolf cub in his arms, shouting, "Definitely has his mother's fur, and her bite too, come to think of it," as he bounced down the corridor with his newborn. Alex had very rarely been to this part of the building before, and even then, it was never this busy. He tried to take everything in, and it all felt so different now. but there was so much going on. Sound emanated from every corner, sometimes accompanied by a flash of light. Several agents were joined by some form of magical creature trotting alongside them. Alex could have sworn he saw a small chupacabra being pulled by the collar as if it were a small dog. They walked through the cafeteria, grabbed some sandwiches, and began making their way to the 3rd floor, where the initiations for the exploration division took place. With every step, Alex noticed a new detail of his surroundings. There was so much to see, so much he hadn't seen on his previous trips to the organization. Everything was interesting. Even the signs were interesting, some informing werewolves about the preparations for the full moon, others depicting supplies for potions and spell practicing classes. There were also some bright, colourful posters about counselling for the deceased. Alex wondered if that was like grief counselling, or whether it was to help ghosts who needed to pass over. He pondered this for a while, devouring his surroundings, as Stefan directed him towards the 3rd floor and his initiation.
I hope you enjoyed this chapter of the Hades Corporation Blood, Greed and Power. Please like and subscribe if you feel compelled to do so, and hopefully we'll see you back for chapter 2.